Welcome back to Eagle Express, everybody. This is where you find out the honest truth. No faking, no sugarcoating, none of that. Not just the easy stuff, not just the money part, but the actual difficulties on the job and how it is, and no coating on top. The raw stuff that we deal with and that drivers can expect if you're a new driver. That way you get to see the whole honest truth and everything that you deal with expediting. So if in case it's not for you, then you guys can realize this in the videos before actually going and wasting time and buying a van and everything else. So I'll go into this way. The month of February, I'll tell you what, everybody's been calling. There's a lot of emails, more than ever, I think, right now. A lot of calls. Everybody's kind of thinking that their dispatch or whoever they're working with isn't doing the job. That's not the case. The case is, it's actually one of the worst months that I've seen in my almost a 10-year career. This summer, it's going to be 10 years since I'm in the business, and not just driving, but actually behind the desk in the dispatch world. The driving part, honestly, is only 10% of what I do, and 90% is actually behind the desk and dispatching and everything else, and behind the scenes of this job. So this month, February, has been one of the worst months. Why is it the worst? Some of you might say, no, Andre, we didn't feel it. There's only a few of those that work with us, and that, probably had decent weeks and, over $3,000 grossing, and some might say, well, yeah, it's slower than usual, but I haven't really felt it. And some of you that watch the videos, you're gonna say, man, yeah, especially these last couple weeks, things, yeah, they're slower, and they really are, because the fact of the matter is freight got cheap, and there's a lot less loads out there. There's a lot less of those longer loads, and there's a whole bunch of cheap freight out there. And it's not just the cheap freight, it's also the fact that, people are ready to go driving, and there's a lot of competition, lots of people doing this, and what's happening is that cuts the rates. So somebody sits a day, 2 days, 3 days, whatever they're doing, they're sticking to their price maybe for a day, two, and then on the third day, that's it, you know what I mean? So things are not the way they used to be. Don't be too alarmed because of this. February is actually, over my 10-year career, is one of the worst winter months that you can have in the trucking industry. It is one of the worst. So it's always a bad month. February is the worst one. So it's worse than January. It's the worst one. But be that as it may, we're still usually moving. It's slower, but the rates are still at least there. But right now, the rates are not there. West Coast has gotten bad. The South has gotten bad. It's just a tough time right now altogether. So those of you guys who are thinking the winter's over, it's time for me to get back on the road, well, be prepared for those lower rates if you want to keep driving and keep being busy, because we're being outbid hardcore. And it's not like, we did something somewhere, and did a bad job, and that's why we're not getting loads, and, maybe a driver screwed up somewhere and we're on a bad list. That's not the case. There's no such thing. That's not why. It's just because freight is cheaper in cost right now. It's gotten worse, and February has been pretty bad. So we were hoping for the best, but it is what it is. And like I've been saying before, the strong will survive. It's tougher for the people who have van payments, that have high insurance costs, that have high bills at home. Yeah, it's going to be tougher for those guys. But for those guys who are with a paid off van, whose insurance is cheap, who has a paid off mortgage, all they do is at home, they just pay the power bill and the cable bill and, taxes a couple times a year, property taxes or whatnot. Hey, for those guys, yes, definitely it's a lot easier. But for the most of you guys, things are tight, things are tough, things are slower and cheaper, and we just got to get through it. That's all we do. So don't be in such a hurry to jump from company to company. You know, maybe nobody wants to work for free. Dispatch doesn't want to work for free. You don't want to work for free. Nobody wants to go in a minus, but things are just the way they are, and we just need to get through it. So, you know, if you can afford to take time off and be off, I'm not sure. Things might turn around here in a week. Things might turn around here as soon as March hits. Or a lot of big companies, there's a few things that there's only a few very, very little places where I actually put my ear to and maybe listen. I don't watch the news. I don't do politics, none of that kind of stuff. So I don't get into any of that. There's nothing that one man can change when it comes to that kind of stuff. So the main part is stay strong. And if we can get through this, eventually, don't know when, but eventually better times are going to be waiting for us. And we're going to get into those better times eventually. Don't know how long. Hopefully it's not going to be this whole 2024, but we'll be here. You know, Eagle's not going anywhere. We'll be here. As far as you guys, as far as the rates go, I'll tell you this. West Coast is like, really, it's hard to get out for 70 cents right now from the West Coast. The rest of the country just kind of depends. 80, 85 cents is where we're at. Pay to the driver, and we don't take out percentages from that. So that's just clean pay to the driver. Sometimes you do end up in a bad spot where you either need to move or you just gotta take the load for a cheaper cost. I'm not a fan of, you know, going for whatever you can go for, you know what I mean? But I'm a fan of moving, and it's better to move for something and get out of a bad area and get going and move on versus being stuck and sitting there. So there's a lot of people that, you know, have their own opinions about, you know, can't move below 85 cents. It's not worth it for me, or you're not making any money below 80, 85. You know, I don't know. If you're not making money at 80, 85 cents, then you shouldn't be in this business, because there's always going to be somebody who's taking your freight that you could have been taking for that 80, 85 cents, and they're going and they're making money. And at the end of the week, they're going to be probably having a triple paycheck versus what your paycheck is. Theirs is going to be 3 times more versus you waiting for your, you know, magical rate and load and so on and so forth. I'm not saying that there isn't any, and I'm not talking about the 50, 100, or 200 mile loads. Those ones, they're still all right. They're still paying okay. You can still get away with doing that. But it depends where. If you're like in Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey area, that's a big competition area. There's tons of competition there. So it's really, really tough to move from there. Besides that, the rest of the country, you know, you might say, oh, I just drove for $2 or $3 a mile. Well, if you did a 100-mile run for $300, yeah, because nobody really wants to do that. Everybody's waiting and hoping for a longer trip, a longer load, and only at the end of the day is when smart dispatchers bid stuff like that. When the day is almost done, that way you don't lose the whole day. That's the only time we really go for those kind of loads. Otherwise, we try to get drivers the most amount of miles for the most amount of money. So let me know in the comments what your February is like, what you guys are grossing weekly, and how many loads a week you guys do, because I'm interested to know what the rest of the, you know, what the rest of the viewers and expediters are actually getting, because we're, like I said, we're like at 50-50. Half our drivers are okay. Some are doing a lot better than others, and some are just really bad because they got stuck in a weird area, or in an area where we're just doing short runs here and there, and then, you know, trying to get out but can't. So kind of the luck of the draw one way. Somebody's blessed more and somebody's blessed less in the way, you know, but hey, we're doing all we can do. And those of you guys who are, you know, shopping around from company to company or trying to hook up more than one dispatcher. You know, some people call us up and go, hey, we want to work with you guys, but we're already working with like 5 or 7 different companies. And we don't do that. We only work exclusively with one driver, and driver only works exclusively with us. We don't do that whole, you know, multiple companies and all that kind of stuff. That's frowned upon. If you guys didn't know, it's lightly said frowned upon in the expediting world, if in case you did not know. But hey, I just wanted to kind of post a video and let you guys know what's February like. I know I've done the February one before, but I didn't know it was honestly going to be, you know, come to this to where I have to put out another video to kind of calm people down, first of all, and second of all, just say how it is, you know. It just, you know, it sucks because I know that you're away from your family. I know you are trying your best to make the money, trying your best to make the bills, you know, pay for themselves and everything else, and, you know, setting money aside right now, especially if you got, you know, bills and, you know, and debt and everything else. It's tough, guys. I'm with you. You know, I feel it. I hurt with you guys. And as far as Eagle Express goes, we're doing the best we can to keep drivers moving. But you guys got to understand, it's not all in our power. If there's just no freight in the area, or if the freight is just going for a ridiculous price, it's going to be up to the driver in the end. Hey, what do you want to move for? Because in the end, if we can't get, you know, whatever rates we've been trying, then we do get with the driver and say, hey, do you want us to try a little lower? What do you want to do? You want us to keep pounding at that rate? What do you want to do? So that's what we do. I suggest that's what you do with your dispatch, or hopefully they do that with yours if you're working for another company. But guys, February is almost over, and I hope that the tough time and the worst is almost over as well. So God bless. Let me know in the comments how your February is going, and we'll see each other next time in another video. Take care.